This episode contains discussions of sexual assault and domestic violence, including references to the ongoing case involving Sean Diddy Combs. Listener discretion is advised.
We wanted to create a fun, non-judgmental space where women can talk about their shared experiences.
Here, we will normalize the challenges we face as females living in a society that dictates unrealistic and outdated expectations on what a woman should be.
Together, we hope to cultivate a supportive community of women who empower one another to courageously live unapologetically.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Although Cindy and Danielle are licensed therapists, this podcast is not to be interpreted as therapy or a replacement of therapeutic services. It is strictly a conversation between two women about their experiences in the world. If you liked today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Unapologetically Females. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to another episode. Today we're talking about, I don't know if we've ever talked about a current event the way that this is a current event.
No, I think we've talked about some things that trend on TikTok, like trad wife and things like that, but we haven't
talked about like an actual current event that's happening. So when we were talking about topics to do, I threw out the Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him, Sean Combs trial that's happening because it is very prevalent in the news right now. It's happening as we speak. And so there's a lot within the trial. I know you haven't been following it as closely as I have.
Full disclosure, I do not watch the news. It gives me...
I don't either. I watch TikTok.
Okay. I don't have TikTok either because my children have told me I'm not allowed to be on it.
Oh my gosh. It is. I shouldn't be on it. And people can judge me for being on it. That's okay. Yeah. I've gotten comfortable with the joy it brings me.
I honestly think that I would probably waste half my day because I would go down all the rabbit holes.
My brother and I just send each other stupid videos. And I'm like, it's the best. I sent one to one of my friends the other day and I'm like, this TikTok reminds me of you.
Oh, I do that, but just with like memes or Instagram posts. So
fair.
If I added TikTok to it, my whole day would be about,
Yeah. So, and my algorithm is not, cause I do not like the news. Full disclosure, like we're not a news watching family. I'm not a news watching person. I really don't want anything serious on my algorithm feed.
Well, in our jobs, we deal with a lot of serious stuff. Yeah. So I don't know.
But yes, but the P. Diddy trial has been on my feed and I have been following. And so I thought it was a good topic to talk about in the sense that I think that it's really important, not necessarily him in particular or like, you know, this actual trial, but the circumstances that I know are very real topics. And for some, you know, are also experiencing, you know, domestic violence and, you know, trafficking is a huge issue in our country. And
right. Which I am so glad that we're finally talking about, not you and I, but our country is finally talking about the problem with trafficking.
Right.
Because trafficking isn't just, something that happens the way that we're seeing it. It happens within families. It happens in many different ways.
Absolutely. So full disclosure, Cindy and I are not attorneys.
Nope.
Or law experts.
Nope.
Although I like to think I am sometimes.
I mean, in your next life, you should be an attorney for sure.
I'm just going to really project that onto my children and hope that one of them turns out to be an attorney.
I could see Harper being an attorney.
So I can vicariously live through them.
Yeah.
We are not law experts in any way, shape, or form. So just want to give that disclaimer before we start talking about the law like we are. You know?
Yeah.
But as I've watched the trial, I find it interesting because I think he's being charged, again, not going to get this right, like the full legal terminology, but he is being charged with trafficking and then also racketeering, which racketeering is like such an ambiguous charge in my opinion.
Interesting word.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting word, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially my understanding of for it to be a federal trafficking crime, you have to cross state lines. So I think that in this trial, they have to be able to prove that they had individuals come across states in exchange for sexual favors.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
So that's part of the trial. And then there's the racketeering piece, which I'm not even going to try to explain racketeering. All I know is that it has to be like an enterprise of people. So basically what they're saying is that the way that it almost is, I remember one time my brother told me the definition of a gang, and it almost sounds like that too. But racketeering has to involve like an enterprise of people, and they're saying that his employees were basically his enterprise. So it's like people doing things for you. You're putting out there that you're doing a legitimate business deal, but you're not.
Okay. Got it.
So anyway, so those are the two charges. I find the charges fascinating because what I am looking at the trial as, and what I also think he should be tried for, is his behavior towards women. The one woman in particular, I think, and again, I don't have all of the details, but I do think that there are two women. One's a Jane Doe, though.
Okay.
And then the very well-known one is Cassie Ventura. So that she got on the stand, and
Good for her.
Oh, for days. It was
That
brutal
a lot of strength.
to watch. Right. And so just hearing about her experience, wild doesn't even describe it. But what I think is fascinating is that there is a video of him in 2016 beating the shit out of her.
Oh, jeez.
At a hotel in front of an elevator.
Oh, okay.
I want to say
this.
the video is in total 15 minutes long, around there. I mean, and clearly the way that he beat her clearly was not the first time, because you don't go from nothing to on the ground, being kicked, full closed fists, punched, dragged, hair pulled. Like, that's not typically how domestic violence starts.
Right.
In the trial, you've learned that was not the first time, that this was a regular occurrence. And so again, I don't understand fully the legal system, but I'm like, where's the trial for that?
Right.
Where's...
Right. Well, and maybe hopefully it'll follow.
Well, so this is the interesting part. So a year and a half ago or so, she filed a lawsuit against him. I want to say it was like November of 23.
Like a civil suit, or?
I don't know if it was criminal or civil. I don't know for sure. But she filed a suit against him. They settled in under 24 hours. And so there was a lot of conversation around that of like, she's... I think people decided to form an opinion based on that, because people were like, oh, well, she was just after money. I also think that the settlement in under 24 hours speaks volumes. And this trial has come to show that it does speak volumes. Right. He did not want her to come out with all of the things that have come out, because they are, it's crazy. Yeah.
Bad's not even enough.
She did come, it must have been civil, because there was a dollar amount. Well, I don't know, maybe criminal, there can be a dollar amount too. But, she was asking for $30 million in the suit that she filed. I believe she settled for $20 million.
Okay.
And so people can think what they want to think about the money, right? And people are going to think whatever they want.
Right.
So I think that the conversations that I would love to have around this, and I think are important, are, the domestic violence and the trafficking pieces, and just talking about, how to keep yourself safe, and what does this look like for people, and also just adding a layer of compassion to this too. Of I can understand why somebody can easily jump to conclusions and go, you consented, you were a consenting adult, you were gaining something monetary. At the end of the day, though, in this situation and within this trial, clearly there's a massive power differential, not just from like the status wise, but I mean money. It's this world that they live in, that he has lived in. He now lives in a cell, so you know it's very different. But the world that he has been living in, and the people that allow the behavior and all of the yes men and women that came along the way because they were collecting paychecks from him. I just think that we don't even understand the level of compliance and power that comes with those people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's easy for us to judge, but like, when was the last time you were working for a billionaire and you had that close of access and you know what I mean? And you were collecting a huge paycheck and being flown private around the country or world and so on and so forth. Right.
Sure. And not only that, you're coming from a place of trauma. So we know that you react to trauma 3 different ways: fight, flight, or freeze, right? Fear is paralyzing.
Right.
And so when you are in a position where you're getting the shit beat out of you and you're being told things like, I don't know what she was being told or any of these people were being told, but things like, I will come after your family, or I will kill you, or I will, whatever it is, you're going to stay in a place that we are, as human beings, our first objective is to protect ourselves.
Right. The other piece is that, which is very typical in these types of scenarios, is the gifts after the event. And so there were these extravagant gifts that were provided to the victims. And also I found it interesting. I want to say it was his assistant that testified that he did something. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't like an abusive thing, but I don't recall fully what it was. But Diddy's recommendation was get them something nice. Buy them. Like, wow. I know. Wow. And so again, it's easy to sit back and judge this trial because we are all so far removed from it.
Right.
But also, like, this is your neighbor. This is your...
Well, and that's what I like about this. This is what... If there's a silver lining in all of this, it's that we are now becoming more aware to watch out for each other. Right. I grew up in a home with domestic violence, and I think as an adult now, if someone had just asked me, "Are you okay?"
Right.
I probably would have just spilled it, but nobody did. And especially back in those days, like, people knew what was going on, and they would, take me under their wing, and I had some wonderful people who really helped me. But if somebody had just pulled me aside and said, "Are you okay?"
Right.
Then I think it would have gone differently.
Right. Yeah. The other piece I was just reading maybe yesterday was someone from the glam team was I think was on the stand. And that individual testified about witnessing one of the incidences of the abuse. And basically the abuse happened in front of her. Then her and Cassie went to a hotel or maybe to her house or something for a few days. She stayed there to care for her. She called like a private doctor to come. The doctor recommended she go to the hospital. She declined. After a few days of staying with her just to make sure she was okay, and as she was healing, she left, and then they never spoke of it again. But she continued to work with her. And and again,
zero judgment.
Yeah, zero judgment, no fault of that individual. But I think that when you're, again, that person is getting paid, right? Mm-hmm. Sure. So it's like they're making a paycheck. They also are in an industry where, if my understanding of this industry is that people that are in high powered positions can nearly make or break you. They can stop you from getting work in the industry if you do them wrong. And so I could see the fear from that person's perspective
Their
as well.
Their livelihood depends on whether they speak up or not.
Right. And also I think then there's the layer of just education and you know, how do you help somebody in those situations?
We also don't know the background of how they grew up and what they're used to or what is acceptable and what's not, or in their own mind, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's so much to it. That just makes it very clear that no one can judge anybody's situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think, so speaking on the trafficking piece of it too, you know, a lot of the trafficking, elements of this, or I think all of the trafficking, I have not heard anything with about a minor. So I can't, like, I don't know if any of that is, you know, there were things before the trial started, allegations of alleged misconduct with minors and things like that. I don't know. I haven't seen anything within the trial that has talked about that or if that will come out. Thus far, everyone has been adults. But they were, you know, hiring male escorts to come and pay for these days long. They called them freak offs, which is like also interesting that I'm like, we named them something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and there was a lot of drugs involved. That's another piece of drugs being prescribed to him under, I think the name I saw was Frank Black, under a different name. And so, again, that goes to show I can't walk into a doctor's office and ask a doctor to prescribe me, you know, medication under a false name.
Right.
You know,
right. It goes to show you what the money can buy.
Yeah. Money, power, fame, all of those things can buy. And so, all of these drugs, there's, I want to say his bodyguard or assistant or somebody said like they always had a suitcase or briefcase or something full of like tens of thousands of dollars so they could pay off people. Wow. And just there's just so much, like so many layers, and it goes to show again just the complexities behind all this. And so, you know, we may look at the video and go, why didn't she leave? You know, and it's easy, or you hear the story, you know, of you know, the mom or the, you know, whoever down the street or man, you know, why didn't he leave? Why didn't she leave? It was toxic. Why did they stay? And it's like, it's so
easy for us to say.
Yeah.
You said or man, and it reminded me of a story. I was at a baseball game with my daughter and some friends, and a bat, the batter let go of the bat and it hit me in the arm, and it gave me this horrible bruise. And I was in the supermarket a few days later, and I was reaching up to get something off the shelf, and this man came by me and he said, I see your bruises. Do you need help?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm almost going to cry.
I know, like,
so
what a
sweet.
man.
What a man, yeah. And then I explained the story of how it happened and you know, convinced him that no, I'm fine. But wow, like it was so powerful.
That takes so much courage.
So much courage, yeah, to just see me and you know, just go ahead and ask.
Right.
But it was such a good lesson to me too that there's so many people out there that are not okay.
Right.
And we just walk by them and we don't ask them, you know, and so to me, I was like, wow, that's a real man, right? Like that's
just a quality human being.
Didn't matter if he was a man or a woman. Yeah. That's a real human, good human. Yeah.
Right.
For just reaching out and seeing that something could be wrong and offering help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what we really need to, like, that's the messaging in this, right? Of like, whatever you can do, you know, for that individual that you may be concerned about, you know, trying to get them in a safe place where you can check in if there are concerns or signs.
And with the coverage of stories like this, we can no longer say, well, we didn't know that existed, or we didn't know that happened, or, you know, we didn't know that things like that happened.
Right.
We now know that things like that are happening.
Absolutely.
And as a society, and we need to watch out for each other, and we need to ask.
Absolutely. And it starts as kids too. So like the trafficking piece, you you know, we've talked extensively throughout multiple episodes about social media. And I think, you know, that's a huge element with this for the younger generation now, of a lot of kids are getting trafficked through social media.
Yeah, I've worked with.
And that piece of just online safety for kids. And as a parent, it is your responsibility to be overseeing what they're consuming and who they're talking to. I had a parent recently say something of like they were nervous to, I can't remember. It was like not for their kid to know that they checked the kid's phone. And I'm, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it is, as a parent, it's your job to keep the child safe and healthy, right?
For sure. And I'm going to play devil's advocate on that, because also kids can use their friends' phones, or they can.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and so there are ways for kids to have these conversations that parents may never
won't
see
find.
or
Yes.
won't find.
100%.
Yes.
But I think that if you are choosing to believe that nothing is, you know, if you're not at least looking, right? If you're not putting safeguards in place because you want your kid to feel like you fully trust them, you can fully trust your kid and also be proactive in keeping them safe and educate them and you know, really take those extra steps to just check, to just, you know, I think that's so important, because again, we've talked about brain development and all those things, and like you can have the
smartest, brightest, most wonderful kid, and they can still be manipulated by these type of people.
It doesn't say anything about you as a parent. It doesn't say anything
about them,
about your kid. Yeah. And so, you know, I would just encourage parents to really, whatever that looks like in your house, to just put those safeguards in place and be involved in whatever they're consuming on their phone, and doing those periodic checks, because there are bad people out there.
And it's not just that, you know, I live in a nice neighborhood, or I don't live in that type of community.
Right.
It happens in every community, in every neighborhood.
It is. No one is immune to it.
No one is immune to it. Yeah.
So, so anyways, this is a little bit different than what we normally talk about, but I just thought that this was important for us to bring up, because
I do too, because other than me, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe we do another episode and follow up as the trial unfolds and as the verdict comes out, because I am curious to see how all of it plays out. As a viewer of some of it, as a viewer and also a therapist, and just an American living in the United States, I'm concerned that the jury will look at this and place blame on the victims and go, well, they consented. And that's, you know, I just think my hope is that they get some like mental health experts on the stand and talk about trauma and talk about coercion and talk about like all of those things, so that the jury can be educated on those pieces as well, because that is incredibly important for them to understand, to make that decision. So yeah, like again, I'm not an attorney, but based off of what I've seen, I could see how the prosecution is doing their job and trying to raise reasonable doubt and question the character of some of the, you know, of the victims, along with basically showing their, you know, they were consenting. And look at these text messages. She asked for it,
because not being able to say no is not consent.
Yeah.
That's not consent.
Yeah.
You know, I could go off all day on that. That really fires me up. But
yeah. So maybe we do a follow up as the trial unfolds and the verdict comes out, and we'll see where it lands. But I think the takeaway today really is, you know, say something, have the courage to speak up, help your friend, help your neighbor. If somebody is, you know, showing signs of abuse, or just, you know, showing that they're off or something, maybe scared, or, you know, whatever it may be, ask if they're okay, ask the question, you know, speak up, say something, create a space that's safe for them to share with you what they're going through, or that they may need help.
Right. And now we can't say that we didn't know things like this are happening. They are. But if we watch out for each other, maybe they'll happen less.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Cindy. Thanks for listening.